This is a story of pain, love, rise and fall. A story of how one can fall 7 times, yet still merge from the ashes successful. This is the story of Byron Music Man Williams.
My name is Byron Williams, also known as Byron Music Man Williams. And this here is my story. So, I'm here in St. Louis. I've been here, man, I've been here for like a nice little minute, like nice little second now. And I've been trying to link up and trying to coordinate with my family, with my kid people, so I can work on the documentary. I emailed out questions, not the question, but like the little questions, test questions, or whatever you want to call it, and the what I'm trying to say, the questions and the actual topic questions or whatever. Anyways. Nobody has fucking called me or texted me or said anything else, right? But then I'm gonna be the bad guy. Not if, but when I just say, alright, well fuck it. I'm gonna just film all this shit by myself.
Let us go back to the beginning of where it all started.
So born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. First place I remember initially living was a street called Clemens. It was west side. I guess that side of the street, I guess, was considered north side. I can't remember. More like west side to me, really. But it was called Clemens, man. That building no longer stands. However, I remember it. I remember it very clearly, man. I remember my neighbors, lady that used to babysit me from time to time or whatever. Lady named Miss Rose. Um, I remember a young lady I had a crush on way back then. Name was Tootie. Her name was Tootie. Like I said, her and her family lived there in that same building and whatnot. Man, the days of my being on my big wheel and things of that nature. But again, west side of St. Louis, whatnot. Um, man, childhood. Excuse me. My childhood wasn't horrible, man. There were some, unforgettable moments, of course, some unfortunate moments as well. Um, but like I said, going from Clemens, the street of Clemens, the next place I remember living was Laclede Town. Forgive me, y'all. But Laclede Town was a very special place. Let me tell you, man. um, oh my goodness. I remember at that time living in Laclede Town, and I was attending the school on the south side, deep south. Um, Grade school days, elementary school days. It was called Malincrot, and but Laclede Town, like I said, man, it was very active. My first experience of seeing guns, hearing gunshots, things of that nature, seeing and being around the whole gang culture, whatnot. Um, Lee Town had all of those elements. Um, it wasn't all bad. However, again, you know, it was a project. So it was, it was cool though.
Growing up in the church, Byron was already aware of rhythms and sound patterns, when one day while at home he heard a sound of unfamiliar measure. That sound was none other than the sound of tap dancing.
I just remember hearing this sound, and I'm just like, man, what is that? And it was these guys on TV, man, who had these like weird shoes on, but they were making these sounds, they were making these rhythms. And so already been into drums and just instrumental music and things of that nature, just entertainment in general. When I saw that, it was over with. I was like, yo, I'm doing that. I'm absolutely doing that. Didn't know what it was about at that time. Didn't realize it was Sammy Davis Jr., Gregory Hines, Sandman, Jimmy Slide. Didn't none of these individuals. You know what I mean? Diane Walker. Absolutely no clue. I didn't know names then. I didn't know who these people were. All I knew is I'm getting ready to do that. Whatever it takes. Yep, I'm getting ready to do that.
My name is Mr. Wallace Robinson.
Wallace Robinson. Mr. Robinson, how is it that you met Byron?
I met Byron a long time ago. I believe around 1980. I could recall. Guess I've been knowing Byron with Mr. Williams. I'd say about 40 to 45 years.
Okay, wow. So you guys have had a pretty long friendship.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So how did you guys meet? Like, where exactly did you all meet?
Met at a place called Peacock Alley. It's a little small building that sits down into a little ditch. Matter of fact, in the area where Harris-Stowe State College, if many of you know where Harris-Stowe is, down on a corner, it's a little building that sits down in the ground. It's where I met Mr. Williams when he came in to be enrolled in our class with the instructor named Mr. Richard A. Martin Jr.
Okay, so you mentioned Mr. Richard A. Martin Jr. and the class. So what type of class was it that he had enrolled in at that time?
At that time, I started off as the janitorial, cleaning up the place, making sure the place was together at the time when the student shows up for class. And when Byron came in, that's when I first have gotten to meet Byron at that time. At that time, Byron was 8 years old.
Oh, okay. Okay, and the classes that you speak of, what type of classes were those?
Well, it was tap dance.
Tap dancing, okay. So was he pretty decent at it? He was all right at it?
Well, at the time, I was, as I've said, me being as a custodian, I also was the music director. At the time, we was using a cassette tape when the kids was dancing off the music that was playing.
Okay. Okay. Cool deal, man. So let me ask this. The Over the years, you saw Byron tap dancing and knew him as a tap dancer. When did you find out that he was off into doing the music and as well as like the hip hop dancing? When did you find that out, and how did you find that out?
Well, as that came along, which I didn't know Byron that well at that time, he was also involved in a lot of other different activities, piano, hip hop, uh, dancing, street dance, and they have came aware that at my young age I was in that same area learning different artists that came and have come and gone. And Byron was that type who I had saw myself as being at his age at that time, being 8 years old and learning all the different type of music as I went along, playing the piano, listening by ear, taking ballet, jazz, Africa, and other different professional art that people came at that time who come and go. And that's what really drew my attention of knowing Mr. Williams as a person that I can put my foot into his shoes at the time when I was coming up at that age during that period of time.
Oh, okay, that's cool, man. So let me ask you this. Um, the very first performance, the very first tap dance performance, when you saw his very first tap dance performance, because I can only assume that you were there when he did that. When you saw him dancing, tap dancing on stage, what were your thoughts? Did you say like, "Oh, this guy is good," or how when what was that first impression, his very first tap dance performance?
The first impression that I've gotten when I saw Byron did his first performance, I would like to take a step back. It was a time when my brother was dancing, and during that period of time, he didn't want to teach me. And Byron have took that opportunity to show me how tap dance was really done, the different sounds. And so then I started looking at Byron as teaching me to become who I am by learning and listening and looking at this young man. No matter how old you always learn from someone, and you always give the person the credit for the time that they put in within themselves to teach someone else. And so when I seen Byron perform his first routine, I'm trying to picture in my head what was the name of that routine was at that time. And when I did see it, it was a young kid that just had so much enthusiasm, so much energy, and he lit up the stage like you couldn't imagine. And when I saw that in him, it brung more in within myself to say I want to be like him.
I remember that initial day and having those shoes in my hand. My uncle Sonny said he bought the first pair of tap shoes for me. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? He probably did. I don't. Again, I don't know. I can't remember any of that part of it or whatever. Not to knock it. Like I said, he probably did. Again, I don't know. All I know is that when I got those shoes, it changed my life. It introduced me to a completely different crowd of people, a genre of music that I didn't know exists. It introduced me to jazz and blues, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, you know what I mean? Cab Calloway, my goodness, forget about it. You know what I mean? The Nicholas Brothers, man, I mean, this incredible and amazing genre of entertainment, not just music, but entertainment. It was incredible. Um, but I remember, you know, being in newspapers, people and photographers and reporters coming into the classroom and whatnot to interview some of the students as well as I was the teacher, Mr. Martin. Um, Man, it was just incredible. I remember, going in and out of town, Jefferson City and places like that, to actually become certified. And I remember I was right around maybe 12, maybe 13 when I became certified to actually teach, licensed by the Missouri Arts Council of Columbia to actually teach tap dance. And man, by the time I was maybe 19 or so, 18, 19, I was declared a master. So it was fun, man. It was a journey. Like I said, I started teaching right around maybe 8, 9 years old. I was helping to teach, helping my teacher and my instructor, helping him teach the classes and things of that nature and whatnot. He, you know, thought I was ready and prepared to be able to do that, which was able to elevate me into different things. Um, like I said, it was tap dancing altered my perception of life when it showed me that, oh, there's more to just the hip hop. There's more to just the break dancing and the gospel. There's more to this thing, huh? There's more to this thing called life when it comes to entertainment. You know what I mean? So it allowed me to be able to explore more again in the entertainment world and entertainment field. Um, one of my highlights, one of my highlights, man, there's so many of them, honestly, but if I have to pick and choose, I would say my number one highlight when it comes to um, the world of tapping. Ah, man, it's like I say, again, so many of them. However, one that sticks out, I would have to say, the Josephine Baker story. So again, my teacher, Mr. Richard A. Martin Jr., his aunt was Josephine Baker. So she taught him, he taught myself, and thousands of students, under under his leadership or whatnot. Um, but I mention this because the incredible, legendary, iconic Lynn Whitfield, amazing actress and just a beautiful person, a beautiful soul. Um, way back then, as well as now, just a beautiful person. Um, she portrayed Josephine Baker in the Josephine Baker story, and they came to St. Louis to actually, do the premiere, and we were able to actually not just attend that premiere to see the premiere, but we were also asked to perform before the premiere. So that was just an amazing, it was an incredible experience, man. Man, I'm so sorry. But but yeah, like I said, it was just an incredible time, an incredible experience, being able to take photos, autographs, things of that nature. I still have different little I think like my little invitation, for the premiere. I have all those things still say some might be on these walls around somewhere. But I still have stuff like in boxes and whatnot, man. Man, I had a great time, an incredible time with this tap dancing. It took me so far, man, all even out to Los Angeles, teaching classes at the Millennium. Um, we're talking the early 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s. I used to teach class at the Millennium Dance Complex. Robert. Robert was in charge of it. He was the owner, the original owner. Um, of that of the Millennium Dance Complex at that time. Um, Also an incredible person, man. I just met so many incredible people on this ride, man, and it's been an absolute blessing. Um, but yes, you know, um, tap dancing, tap dancing.
Well, as far as Byron's talents, and he is multi-talented. I first saw him as a dancer. I was actually in college, and my college professor, my dance instructor, was Richard Martin. And Richard Martin, the master dance, and master instructor, was the grandnephew of Josephine Baker. So that was my dance instructor in college. And he had a dance academy outside of college, working with young people with jazz, tap, modern dance. And I introduced, I told my sister about Mr. Martin. And I don't know how he came to acting me, Mr. Martin, but all I can say this is I bought him his first pair of tap shoes. I said, I think he can do this. So, of course, Byron, I bought him his first pair of tap shoes. He started doing jazz and tap dance with Richard Morton. I can't remember the name of his academy. It'll come back to me. But yeah, and he became very talented. He was featured at a lot of places, Fox Theater, just everywhere with Richard Morton and the other talented jazz tappers. He was one of the youngest, as a matter of fact, of all the jazz tappers at that time. So that's when I really started recognizing his talent as a dancer. And then he came to me and told me he wanted to do something other than jazz and tap because I was working with a lot of artists at that time, R&B artists, musicians and singers. And coming from a large family of somewhat musicians and everything, I figured maybe some of my nieces and nephews may have had that talent too. But I really was flying under the radar with them because usually people come to me. I usually don't go out looking for talent. Talent usually come to me and say, "Hey, I do this." I said, "Okay, show me what you got." So again, like I said, as a dancing as a jazz tapper, I bought him his first pair of tap shoes. He started doing the tap. I actually was trying to create something. I don't know if he remember back in the day. I tried to create something called rap tap, and I had some songs by Diggable Planets, uh, and I wanted him to tap to the Diggable Planets track. And again, like I said, is so yeah. So that's how I met him, and that's how I was part of instrumental in introducing them to the music scene as far as through dance, through tap dance, and it went on from there.
Byron then moved to Los Angeles, California, with an invite from friends with only $500 from selling his car for a one-way ticket. And this was the birth of who we know as Byron Music Man Williams, a name very much earned and given by industry leaders such as Chester Whitmore, Otis Salad, famed choreographers and producers for both stage and film.
It's funny enough because being around the different artists that I was around B2K uh, faithfully. I was around them cats almost every day, literally almost every day. Um, man, B2K, Tank, um, man, some of everybody. I was just around these different amazing people every day. I'm sorry, y'all, but I say that because even being around all of these individuals, I never told anybody that I sing, play, write, any of those things. It wasn't until I was doing a private tap class, right? I was doing a private tap class, and it was just one student. Just her mother wanted me to work with her one on one, and so I arrived to the rehearsal hall early, and being there early, there was a piano in the room. So I'm sitting there, I'm playing the piano, and I'm just singing one of the songs that I wrote, waiting for them to arrive. Well, I didn't see them come in because how where the piano was situated versus the door. It wasn't until they got right there next to me when I realized, oh, my bad, let's get this rocking and rolling. And it was at that moment, no, not because of being in anybody's music studios, not from hanging out with, B2K, particularly O at the time or whatever, not from hanging out, kicking it with Tank or whatever. And, you know, um, I even did, I performed on Soul Train with Tank and in the rehearsals and just at the crib and all of that. None of that led into me uh, being offered my first record deal. Um, and the first offer that I had, the first official record deal that I was offered was with David Geffen with Geffen Records. Um, but that came through me tap dancing. So this particular client that I was working with, the private tap classes, um, she was she was in the medical field, and her attorney was Geffen. Well, they not only controlled Geffen Records, but they also had DreamWorks and things of that nature. So her coming into the class, realizing, oh man, I didn't know that you sing and play, and oh, you wrote those. So she actually went to him and said, "Hey, I have this kid. You gotta hear this kid. He's, whatever she said to him or whatever." Um, and she asked me if I had any music that I could give her to allow him to hear, and I gave her two songs and whatnot. And that following week, um, she walked into the classroom and was like, "Hey, I talked to a friend of mine." She never told me who the individual was. She never told me who he was. All she told me was that she would like for someone to hear this. And so David Geffen was the person she wanted to hear. And long story long, she came into the class that the next time that we had class, and had a contract in her hand, you know, had a contract in her hand for me to sign. Uh, and yeah, and that was the beginning stages of the whole Geffen Records experience. I was then introduced to the my very first ever entertainment lawyer, um, who was down on Ventura. I know the name and all that out, but again, I don't know, legally or whatever. Anyway, I can say I won't say the name. Anyways, but anyway, he had a big beautiful office down on Ventura or whatever, and yeah, so first meeting with first entertainment lawyer. Um, my first so so my entertainment lawyer I met that week. My A&R guy from Geffen Records I met that week, and I feel like it was somebody else. Or was that it? But anyways, yeah. So yeah, that was my first experience. My first experience with the actual record deal. Um, yeah. So after that, like I said, I had offers to write for artists for Sony from Sony Japan. Um, I was invited out to. I am so sorry, y'all. I was invited out to a um, a club venue that this particular partner with Sony had. And so it was one of the baddest clubs I ever seen in my life. Um, Now, again, I'm not a club goer. I've never been a club goer. And I'm sorry, never been a club goer, really, outside of business. And so, yeah, so he invited me downtown to the club, myself and a couple guests. It was like a three-story club, had different rooms, different. I mean, it was off the chain. It was just it was incredible, man. Different rooms playing different music. You had your reggaeton and your hip hop, your b-boy, break dance, hip hop, your crump. It just your classic R&B. Man, I mean, it was live. That's all I can say, man. incredible experience. Incredible experience, man. But yes, he wanted me to. He had a daughter that was a singer and an entertainer, and so he asked me if I would pen some records for her. Um, and at that time, she was signed to Sony Japan. So, like I said, I've been blessed. I've been fortunate enough to be in spaces. And when I really looked at it, it was like, man, like, excuse me, I'm sorry. But I've just never, I've just really been blessed, to be able to have these type of experiences, um, and be able to learn the business firsthand like that.
No, I wasn't surprised at all because prior to him going into California, he along with one of my other nephews, Vance Watt, they call him Praise, came to me and they were actually like a duet. They were singing together, and I was watching them and they wanted me to work with them, and somehow it happened to where I was working some other guys called by request. And somehow, I don't know what was going on at the time because I was dealing with various other artists. Byron and Vance ended up in the group by request. There were like 6 different versions of by request, but they were a part of by request. And I think a part of the stuff that stemmed me to really push them together to do the by request thing with Byron and Vance, especially since they were my nephews. I said, I finally got something I could put them in and work with them in since they see me work with all these other artists. And they were very good. They ended up performing at the Fox Theater for the Ozzie Smith, who played for the St. Louis Cardinals, the legendary baseball player. He invited them to perform at his retirement at the Fox Theater. So again, it wasn't a surprise to me that after that went on for a while, that I actually encouraged all the young artists that I worked with. I always had this thing that I would say, if you want a Big Mac, you got to go to McDonald's. You're not going to get it at Burger King. And St. Louis is that Burger King. St. Louis can develop artists. St. Louis is a great place for artists to test their talents and to develop. But if you want to really, quote unquote, add to it and get an opportunity to make it, you're going to have to go where the big boys are. You're going to have to go where the studios are, where the executives are, where the recording studios are. So I wasn't surprised that when he took off and went to California to pursue his dreams.
Being on Soul Train, that's another experience that I had that was just mind blowing because growing up as a kid and you watch it on TV or whatnot, and you see your favorite artists on there, things of that nature, it was just like, man, that's incredible. But then when you're actually there to see how this is all put together, and I honestly had no intentions of going, and you know what I mean, and being any part of it. But um, one of my uh, one of my homeboys, whatever, from St. Louis, who was still at the top of his game with choreography and things of that nature. Um, man, been on each other since we was like what 15, 16 years old. Um, Roro, um, man, I went out to LA, hang out with him, kick it with him. And my yeah, pretty much. Went out there to LA, kick it with him and whatnot, and trying to see what I can get into and whatnot. And then yeah, he was working with Tank at the time, and that's where when it all started. And they were working on Soul Train and a couple other things and whatnot. And I remember Tank coming by the crib playing one of his it was his the last record that he had on his label. It was the last record he had on this label before he started transitioning and going through the things that he was going through. Um, how y'all heard him, speak on moving in with Fox and things like that. Uh, moving in with Jamie Foxx or whatever. But anyways, he came by the crib so we can hear the record, and some of the songs off the album and whatnot. And and to also for them to prepare to go and do their thing on Soul Train. So my homeboy Ro was like, "Yo, B, you gonna roll out with us, bro, and you should do the Soul Train joint with us. You know what I mean? Come perform and yada yada yada." I'm like, I guess. You know what I mean? I guess I can do that. And so then when Tank was like, "Man, you ain't doing nothing. Come on, B. Come on, roll, bro." And I was just like, after that, I was like, "All right, cool. I'm in. Let's do it. Let's roll." And so literally, we left the crib, went to the rehearsal hall, ran through everything and whatnot. And now this story, like I said, I said I wasn't gonna ever tell this story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. I was supposed to be like I forget what, like the lead, like point or whatever you want to call it. Uh, Bro was like, "All right, man. So it's gonna be me, you, da 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 da. You cool with that, or you want to just do something like off in the background, whatever, whatever." So he offered me to be one of the cats up front to do my thing because he believed in me. And like I said, we've been knowing each other since 15, 16 years old, and we were in dance groups together and all that. So he knew that I could handle it. But I can honestly admit, y'all, I'm like, you know what, nah, bro, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna sit this one out to the side. I'm gonna still perform with y'all, but I'm gonna do the background situation versus the actual point on this one. You know what I mean? So I ended up dancing in the background with a young lady by the name was a Rose. So she and we, like I said, we performed, but like I said, we was off. I won't say off to the side, but we were like more background versus because there was 2 points, or 4 points, I should say. But anyways, man, for me, it was just about the experience. So to be able to be there and perform, number one, to perform on Soul Train, a show that I grew up watching, and then two, uh, to have the honor to be able to perform on Soul Train with Tank. You know what I mean? And something that I didn't say about this too. Um, well, I mean that's the whole Soul Train thing right there. But everybody, I would say, a lot of people are like really hip to him, just like Cyborg thing or whatever. But a lot of people really now are just hip to Tank and his gifting and just how bottom line, just how dope he is or whatever. But I'm telling you, man, when we were at the crib, bro, when we were at the crib, now I heard his records and all that. They were fly, they were dope. Um, they went off to somewhere. I think they went off to I think they were performing in Miami or something like that. And so I was at the crib. Well, what Tank didn't know is that I write and produce and sing and all that stuff either. So what ended up happening was they left Miami and came back. Well, all that time I was in the room just singing and just doing my thing or whatever. Well, what I didn't know is that they had came in the crib and saying the bathroom was like the bedroom that I was in, the little guest room, was like right near the bathroom. So when he left out of the bathroom, the 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 way that the keyboard and computer and stuff was set up, it was facing the window, like the wall, and the door was behind me. So here I am in there with the little headphones on, doing my thing or whatever, and somebody just walks up on the side of me, and lo and behold, it's Tank. So I take off the, headphones and, he want to hear what I got going on. And man, he was just with it. He was like, "Yo," I didn't know you. Why you say you? I was like, "Well, like, I'm just here, bro. Just trying to do what I can. You know what I mean? This is something that I love and enjoy to do." He was like, "Man, why you tell me you sing?" He was like, "Oh man, we finna do this." He was like, "Let me show you this real quick." So he was the first artist that actually took that time and sat down with me and showed me these crossover chords and you know what I mean, these chord movements and things of that nature. He was the first one that started talking to me about numbers and like fives and the fours and things like that. But again, at that time, I'm just like, I just listened to this dude's records, and I've heard his songs on the radio. And for me personally, I'm sitting there just like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying to myself. I'm just like, bro, you cold. You sitting there playing keys. Why are you out here jumping around and bouncing around on the stage? Why you not out there this is what I'm saying to myself. I'm like, nah, I just something ain't right. I gotta ask this dude, see what's up. However, it was at that time. That's the point I was trying to make. It was at that moment. Tank, it was at that moment, big bro. That's when I was just like, yo, this dude cold. You actually upset me that day. Cause I was just like, dude, this is foolish. Why is he out there jumping around dancing? Why is he not sitting at the keyboard and just killing it, bro? You actually upset me that day, bro. But I get it. I get it. I learned it. Like I said, been around you. You taught me. You showed me. I understood why. Not just being around you, but even with other artists. I understood why. I understood why Bilal would be in these small little, um, real homey type of clubs performing his records because it was just a different environment. It was more appreciated. It was more respected. Um, I get it. I got it. You know what I mean? Anyways, but yeah. So that was my experience.
How did that come? We was at a family function, and we was in the car, and we basically was listening to different music, and I actually rapped for him. He was like, "You sound like somebody I know," and I'm like, "For real?"
Yes, what's up?
And but he seen the gift within me. He like, "Dang boy, you sound like somebody I know, like you sound like, but you had a unique, distinguished voice that nobody ever had." So he was like, "I'll work with you. I'll get you in the studio, with me." And that's how we connected. Through his journey and his music, I just want to talk about the film part, like his creative mindset and thinking is just, it just like God gave him a gift and a talent to come up with these movements and movies and films to direct people the right way and do it for God. That's the way I see it.
Stevie Wonder. So my first 2 months out in LA, um, again, like I said, I was now had gone from just not only teaching tap but teaching some hip hop classes up at the dance Millennium Dance Complex or whatever, and I started like really, meeting a lot of cool people and a lot of friends and things of that nature. One of the people that I actually met that day, um, so it was like multiple things that happened that in that one day. Now that I think about it, so there were So I went to the Millennium Complex, the Millennium Dance Complex in North Hollywood. I went there with a dear friend of mine or whatever who was like a brother to me, Sleepy. Um, he had an audition for a Pepsi commercial. And like, man, you should come up here and audition, well, or at least roll up here with me. I'm like, well, cool, I'll ride out with you, but like audition, I don't know nothing about that because I never knew, you know what I mean? I'm just a guy from St. Louis, you know what I mean? Just out there hanging out with my homeboys or whatever. Um, but he was like, come on, man, we finna go up into this audition or whatever. Just hang out with me or whatever while I audition and whatnot. And so it was for Lorianne Gibson. I think that's her last name, Lorianne. Anyway, she was mad cool. Lorianne Lorianne and Rich, I believe. And but anyway, so I go with him up to the Millennium Dance Complex for this particular audition. It was I want to say Beyonce Pepsi commercial, whatever year that was, the whole Super Bowl thing, whatever. I think it was Super Bowl. Anyway, I know it was a Beyonce Pepsi commercial. Anyways, I'm standing in line with him, and you know, I'm just standing there chopping it up with him, and I'm like, okay, well, cool. Well, when you get to the little door to go in or whatever, I'm gonna cut off, you know what I mean, so that you can go in there and handle your business. And what actually ended up happening was it moved so fast, it moved so quick, and I couldn't cut off to the right. You know what I mean? So we're in this hallway to Millennium Dance Complex. The hallway, the studio is on the left hand side that everybody's going in for the audition. Well, I'm trying to cut around the guy at the door, so my homeboy can go in. But I end up getting pushed into the room too. So I'm just like, whoa. So I'm just standing in the back, and everybody like, all right, come on, everybody's gets you stand here, and I'm just like, and again, I'm fresh. I'm 2 months out there from St. Louis. You know what I mean? So I'm totally green, completely green. So I get pushed into this room, and here I am with Lorianne and Rich, and all these top notch A1 dancers and choreographers or whatever, and I'm the new guy. So here I am. I'm in the back. I'm trying to hide. And Lorianne just says, okay, hey guys, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna do this, and it's 5, 6, 7, whatever. She do a thing or whatever. I'm just like, and I'm just supposed to follow that. But I was already, because of my hip hop trainings and all that kind of stuff, or whatever you want to call it, from St. Louis, because that's how we move, you know what I mean? We just person go up there, they just do the dance or whatever, and we all okay, cool. We learn and we exchange steps like that. Because I was used to that from St. Louis. When I was in that room, I just had to was that St. Louis mindset. It's like, all right, cool. Well, she's doing a combination and I gotta follow it. All right, cool. So that's what I did. And now again, I'm the guy in the back because like I said, I don't know what's going on, and I came to support my homeboy or whatever. And did it twice, and then they needed to switch roles. So they brought myself and my homeboy to the front and switched the other people around and said, okay, let's do this again. So now I'm up front, and it's me, it's Lorianne, it's I think actually it's Rich, me, Lorianne, then it's my homeboy. And so we run it twice. And then she has the people move back to the wall and just pull out certain people. Well, I was one of the people that she pulled forward. Now, again, this is my first run, so I didn't know what that meant. So she pulled me forward, had me do that combination plus a little bit more, myself and two other people, I believe it was. And then after that, said, okay, yeah, these three. So it was trippy because it was his audition for the commercial, and I rolled with him just to go, hang out. I'm in LA, I ain't got nothing else to do. So I'm gonna go hang out with my partner. And yeah, I was picked for that commercial, and he wasn't. And I felt so bad. I felt so horrible because like I said, all I did was just go up there with him to support him to do that. Now, they came in and did an overhaul. From my understanding, Spike Lee came in and redid everything and whatnot. So yeah, they they redid the whole Pepsi commercial. Even though I was picked for it, like I said, I got the call later or whatever saying they were going like a different weight with it or whatever. But I didn't care. Like I said, it was just great to be in the room. I can say, yeah, I did a combination with Lorianne and with Rich. so so I won. I don't care how you see it. Man. But that same day, after that audition, we're out in like the back end of the Millennium Dance Complex under this little pavilion type deal, and this little scrawny little kid. I say kid, he's not a kid, but it was a little scrawny little guy, had like a little jumpsuit on with the little Kango hat, and was he was inviting us over to his place. He was, saying, he was just real cool, real low key cat, and he looked familiar, but I couldn't really place it. Um, I couldn't really place it until he was leaving, but he invited us over to his crib, man, so that we can, check out some music, work on some music, whatever, and all that. But again, I'm green, not knowing anything. And my partner that I was with, he was like, oh nah, man, we cool, man. We appreciate it though, man. We finna get rolling, man. We got some running to do. And what I didn't know at the time was, I should say, at that time, it wasn't until that gentleman was walking away when I realized that. I'm like, oh, that's the guy from the drum line. It was Nick Cannon. He had invited he had invited us over to his spot to like work on some music and check on some music and whatnot, just hang, chill, and kick it. Like I say, he was just real cool. He was just real cool like that. Um, and so yeah, but like I said, we ended up not going because again, I'm just my homeboy, so he's saying we're not going. Then all right, cool. Well, this my partner from St. Louis, so yeah, I'm with him all day. And so then there's a young lady that comes out, absolutely stunning, beautiful, and just a ball of energy. Um, and this young lady, I won't say her name. I won't say her name. Um, However, what I will say is this: we connected. We had a very special bond, and still, to this day or whatnot. Um, she became my god sister. She and her little sister became my god sister, and everybody. Bottom line, we all became family. I'm so sorry, y'all. So I say this because I met her. She was a dancer. She was just a ball of fire and just incredible. You know what I mean? And she's still the same, just full of energy and just still that ball of fire and whatnot. Um, and it's so funny because a little sister was just like not even was, but still is just very, very low key. You know what I mean? Our birthdays are the same day actually. But anyways, um, long story long, that was my introduction to Stevie Wonder. And the way that happened was that I'd been hanging out with this young lady and her mom and little sister. We'd been hanging out for like 2 months, just hanging out, chilling, kicking it. We went to the movies together. I would go over there for dinner. They knew that I sing and play and things of that nature. Um, Mom introduced me to some of her old friends who were, you know, music professionals, bandmates, things of that nature, whatnot. Now, the only thing that they would ever say to me was, "You remind me a lot of my dad," and then mom would say, "You remind me a lot of my best friend." Now, I never asked questions. I was like, "Oh, cool, cool, I guess, appreciate it." But again, I never asked any questions. I was just doing what I love to do. And that's one thing, again, I guess a little side note, sidebar, whatever, is that I never did any, I was never in it for the money. I was always in it for the love of it. There's just there's something that music does to me personally that Nothing in this world, absolutely nothing else in this world does that to me. The calm, the confidence, the it's just a safe place for me. Music has just always been a safe place for me and to me, and still to this day. But with that being said, again, 2 months into it, and mom's birthday, right? I say mom because that's what she became to me. She became my godmother, and they, like I said, they adopted me into the family and just opened their arms and showed me nothing but love, um, and still to this day. Um, However, it was a birthday. So like, hey, we're going out to eat. Um, we're going out into Beverly Hills. Now, mind you, never been out in Beverly Hills. Never had a reason to. I've gone through to like the Beverly, it was like the Beverly Mall. Um, that was about as far as I've gone. However, they come by, they pick me up, girls are in the back, I'm in the front, and mom's just like, yeah, we're gonna go out, have some food, eat, you know, nothing big, nothing major, And so as we were walking in, well, we arrived to the restaurant. There are these two black SUVs and just like blacked out. And I never seen these SUVs ever in my life, any type like them ever. And so, but again, it's California and it's Beverly Hills. You expect it. And as we're walking into the restaurant, mom walks in, um, little sis walks in, my god sister, the youngest, she walks in, and then the fiery the fiery ball of spirit and just beautiful soul other god sister, she's walking in and she's in front of me, and we walk into the it was Mr. Child's restaurant, and we're walking in, and then she turns around and says, oh yeah, by the way, my pops is Stevie Wonder. And then she just walks in. So I'm standing there in this doorway by myself. They're on the other side, they're in, and I'm just like, I don't know if she said what I think she said, but that's impossible. I know that can't. No, I'm saying to myself, well, maybe I'm just tired. I'm bugging, and I walk into the actual restaurant itself, and lo and behold, Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder and the whole entire family. The entire family. The entire family. Stevie, Aisha, I mean everybody. Moon Task, everybody was there. Um, and it was an incredible experience. And the dopest part of that experience for me was it was an honor for me to even be invited to sit at this table and break bread with him and the family. So that within itself was just like I said, it was just an amazing honor. Um, and so it took me a moment, a long moment, to kind of process the fact that man, Stevie Wonder is literally about maybe 4, 5 feet away from me. This is a man who I have admired and has inspired me to do what I was doing right before they came and picked me up. You know what I mean? Like literally before they came and picked me up. I listening to his music again, and at this point, it wasn't up until that point. I never knew. They never said anything. I never asked even any questions or whatever. Because quite truthfully, I just never thought it would be possible for me to meet him, because all I've ever wanted to do is just shake his hand and say thank you. But to sit at a dinner table with him at Mr. Child, him and the whole family, and for everybody to know that I was coming and for these individuals to know about me, what he knew about me for, like, goodness, maybe almost 2 weeks, if not a month. They'd been telling them all about me. You know what I mean? So that within itself, again, like I said, it was just an honor, and I am and will forever be grateful to them for that. Um, Even as far as being offered at that time um, to remake Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Uh, uh, they wanted a hip hop version of the Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and for me to be given permission to do that, yeah, that's something I never told anybody. You know, um, that was huge, and to a lot of people, I know how it sounded, and they're like, "Hold on, man! Like, nah, that's you. You fumbled that. You messed that up. Oh, you could have did this. You could have did that." And I get it. I get it. It wasn't until it wasn't until not long after that when I realized that, oh, you know what? That's that's why I never did it. It wasn't out of fear. My thing was I just desired a father figure. For me at that time, the greatest gift that he could give to me was for me to be able to call and be like, "Hey, Pop, I'm going to Raps. Yeah, I need, Raps is a grocery store, county." For me, that for me was much bigger than redoing a record. You know, I didn't realize how much I missed my father all the way up until that point. All the way up until that point, I did not realize just how much the impact of losing my father at 19 and to see him at the table with all of his children and all of them just loving on him and just I wanted a father more than I wanted a mentor of music and things of that nature, whatever. Um, so for me, I blocked music out when it came to him, and I just wanted to be able to just even just say the words, pops. You know what I mean? Um, but anyways, that was my my interaction, my first interaction, and like I said, the family was just Aisha was like, "Hey, maybe we can work on something together. Let's talk. Let's, you know what I mean." And that sitting there at the table, this is what she's saying to me. Let's do something. I have a song that I wrote about my father called "I Miss You." Um, I didn't know at the time, but mom was like, "Hey, he needs to hear that record. You need to play that record for him." And I don't mean on the radio. You need to sit there and play and sing that record for him. He's gonna love that record. He's gonna eat that record up. This is what my godmother was telling me. Um, Again, who was his best friend, Sarita Wright. You know, so this woman was incredible to me my entire time out there in LA, all the way up to her passing. Um, it broke my heart. It devastated me when I heard the news because I had just had my daughter. It was 2004, August of 2004, and I remember being on my way to work. I remember being on my way to work. Um, And as I am walking out of the door to go to work, is when I got that phone call. I got that phone call, and right while my phone was ringing, as I'm picking up my phone, I also see it on the television. And I'm like, nah. And yeah, that's when I found out. that she had transitioned. So, um, but she meant everything to me, man. She meant so much to me in so little time that I was able to be blessed and honored with her presence and her conversations, man. Um, to me, she was bigger than him to me. You know what I mean? Um, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Um, I remember when I fell on hard times, like really, really hard times. I didn't tell anybody, and then of course the the fiery, the fiery god sister, she told, and actually had a homeboy, um, Vondale Henderson. Yeah, I'm telling on you, bro. Homeboy Vondale Henderson. I crashed at his house for a little minute, and he so apparently I was asleep, and my sister contacted me, and he got my phone, got mom's number and things of that nature, and was like, "Yo, he not telling nobody nothing, but this way right here is what he going through." And so that next day, he grabbed me up. We went, jumped in the car, like, "Man, come roll with me, man. We finna, before we go, I want you to meet somebody. I want to talk to some, you know what I mean?" I'm like, "All right, cool, it's whatever." And so as we're going, I'm sorry, y'all. As we're rolling, well, that's when I'm realizing, like, hold on, man. I'm like, yo, I got people that live down here. He was like, I know, that's where we going. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I told on you. And I just bust out laughing. I'm like, oh Lord, man, what you talking about? So she told him to bring me to the house. That's how beautiful of a spirit that she was, man. She told him to bring me to the house so that I can talk to her face to face and let her know what was going on. He had already told half of the business of what was going on with me, but I get there and she has her checkbook out, and again, this is just her spirit. It's not even about some money, but it's just her heart and her spirit. Because again, we only known each other for such a small amount of time, but her heart and her soul, her spirit, the person that she was, man. Um, yeah, she sat in front of me, in front of the girls, in front of him, and just cracked the checkbook open and said, "What do you need?" And I allow pride, pride, shame, and embarrassment. And I'm just like, "Ma, I'm good. I appreciate it. I, I can't accept that. I'm good. I'll be okay." And she asked me again. She's like, "You have to let that go." She was like, "I don't have all the money in the world, but I'm willing and I want to help you. But I need to know what it is that you need. I need a number. Give me a number. I need to know what you need so that I can help you to get out of this." And my pride, my shame, my embarrassment would not allow me to give a number. Um, my boy Vondell was like, "Hey, I got a number." But like I said, man, we ate dinner, and hung out and things of that nature, or whatnot, that evening, and she just shared shared words with me, words of wisdom, and just told me. She taught me right then and there. Always tell people what it is you need, and they will provide to you what they want to provide to you. As long as you put your need out there on the table and just allow people to provide whatever it is that they're going to provide. Yeah. Um, like I said, that was it. We continue to still hang out and go to movies and things of that nature. Um, but again, I never took them up on anything that they offered to me. Um, all I wanted was family. All I've ever wanted to was just to feel loved. I wanted to feel appreciated. I wanted to feel valued. And that's what they provided to me. So I didn't care about music and things of that nature. And when it came to them, I just wanted to be around them. I appreciated their presence. Yeah. Um, can you tell us a little bit about that? Like how he was after that? Like, because how did that affect?
Well, I believe what could truly affect a person when they lose a loved one, it's more like how can you explain? When you love someone, been knowing someone for many years, you become a part of them. And becoming a part of a person that you love, that's all you have. In my opinion, I've been knowing Byron's sister for a very long time. I believe maybe knowing her around the same time that I met Byron. She used to come to class very seldom, used to always like to see her brother enjoy himself in the things that he did throughout the period of times that she had been around him off and on. We had spoke at times where she showed up at some events, and just looking back and seeing those things not just only hurt and affect Byron, it pretty much hurt me after Byron told me the fact when she had to leave to be with the Lord. It actually hurt me just as much as more than it had hurt him, because we look at each other as brothers. I always consider myself as Byron being my youngest brother. And going that far back to accept a person like that in some ways is really grateful, and don't know how other way to explain the thanks and the gratitude and the help that comes from a very good friend that not too many good people have at that time to be around. So I am glad and honored to have a good friend like Byron. And like I said, not just only he just a friend, he's my brother. I always come around to help him and support him at any time. And there will always be until the end.
Gotcha. Now you mentioned his sister Monica. Now she just passed away at the end of last year. Um, how how would you say that affected him, or did it affect him?
Uh, it's hard to be inside somebody's skin, but like I said, knowing Monica again, my comments on how it affected him is kind of like knowing Byron and what he feels about things, and then knowing Monica about the person she was. And I don't know. That may be a question that I would probably have to ask Byron. How did that affect you? Because again, you're talking about a young lady who, I mean, Monica was Miss Everybody. Monica was physically impaired. And let me say that again, physically, not mentally. And even when she was physically impaired, even when she was younger, I would call home. I'd be at the movie theater somewhere, or at a shopping mall, or at a concert, and I'd call home. Guess who were at the concert? Guess who were at the movie theater? Monica went everywhere everybody else went. No matter how she would get there. So she didn't let anything slow her down, going to school, going to college. she became an advocate for people like herself. Now, to be around someone like that, if you don't learn something from that, then you haven't learned anything in life. And Byron, I know he's picked up on that. Again, like I said, to have a sister like Monica that was like, wow, she was amazing. She was an example of never say never. Like I said, she had no boundaries. She lived life to the fullest, and I think Byron took something away from that again, and seeing him today, he's coping with it like we all that in our family of our family members up. We cope with it, but we try and glean from those relationships, you know, uh, something that would make us a better person. And boy, did Monica have a lot of things that would make you, when you have your little aches and pains, and think about Monica. Yeah, Monica, your aches and pains were nothing compared to what she went through, but she always was able to smile, crack a joke, stuff like that. So she helped make you a better person. And I think that kind of shows in what Byron is continuing to do. He's forging ahead. He's becoming that person just like Monica. Monica was a very independent lady.
My sister Monica. My sister Monica. Well, my sister Monica she was my first best friend. You know what I mean? Growing up in the Cleve town, it was just she and I, you know what I mean? Um, she was with the Society for Disabled, and all their different events, I would always attend their events. My tap dance classes and or mainly my performances and things of that nature. She would attend, my events or whatever. I mean, yeah, we were kids, we had to go where mama and daddy went or not. However, at the end of the day, we were, man, it was just even with their disabilities and things of that nature, man, there was no impact mentally, you know what I mean? It was just a regular little brother, big sister relationship, you know what I mean? I remember in Cleetown, she was a pro at this, man. She would be doing her homework. This is the days of the Walkman. She'd be doing her homework. She had the Walkman on one ear, like the headphones on one side. But then she'd be on the phone at the same time, and she'd have the TV on, and just still acing whatever projects she was working on or whatever class assignment she was working on. And I was, again, like I said, the typical little brother, man. So I would hide underneath the bed. Like if I heard her coming upstairs and stuff like that or whatever, I'd run out of my room and I'd hide under her bed in her room just so that I can scare her or whatever, like shake the bottom of the bed and stuff like that. And man, we just had a ball. It was just, again, it was us and we just had fun. We just kicked it. Like I said, from goodness, man, like her sweet 16 birthday party down in the Cleve town and all of her friends and things of that nature. Man, vacations to Branson, Missouri, because when we were young, that's where we went pretty much like every summer, man. We went vacationing in Branson, Missouri. But like I said, she was my first best friend. So losing her changed me, and it changed me forever. To lose my father, to lose a man who was like a father to me, my Uncle Norman, to lose my cousin Binky, just the different loss over the years, the loss of my granny. Nobody's passing nobody's passing affected me more than my sister. You know what I mean? And I love everybody equally. Excuse me. I love everybody equally. I miss everybody equally. But my sister Monica, man, we're approaching a year, and it still hurts like yesterday. It still feels unfair to me. I am going to always feel as if it could have been prevented due to the staffing in that particular facility. However, man, it really sucks on so many levels. Not just the loss of her, but I received no support, man. I remember, and I live it every day. There's not one uncle, not one aunt that reached out to me, not the day of or since. Not one uncle, not one aunt, mother side, father side, reached out to me to say, yo, nephew, you good? You all right? You cool? I can't even think of any cousin. There are 2 cousins. I take that back. No, there are 3 cousins. After the loss of my sister, my cousin Manny, my cousin Shelly, and my cousin Vicky. Those are the 3 family members that reached out to me to check up on me, to see how I was doing. Not just immediately after, but they've also reached out, since, But when you have, 20, 30 uncles, aunts, or whatnot, and uncles, not one aunt, not one uncle came to me, not a call, not a text, not a support, even at the funeral itself, even at the service itself, man. Even at the service itself. I remember sitting on the bench next to my mother, and there was an aunt in particular that came, and I'd gotten up because things were just heavy and weighing on me. And I got up and I moved. But when I came back to sit down, there was an aunt sitting there next to my mother. So for my sister's funeral, my aunt, one aunt in particular, man, one aunt in particular, took that space up. So now I'm sitting off to the side versus being able to sit there with my mom. And instead of me approaching her, saying, yo, you need to move, bro. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how I felt. Is that for me, that was just crazy disrespectful. I understand that, she's trying to be there for her sister and things of that nature. I understand that. But that's my mother. And this is my sister that's in this box. So I took that real disrespectful. But because of my mother, I've just never said anything about it. But like I said, man, there's not an uncle or not that contacted me to see how I was doing. Even being at my mother's house, all the aunts and uncles that were in St. Louis came to her house. Half of them didn't even speak to me when they walked into the house. And I'm the one who opened the door to let everybody in. Half of them didn't even speak to me because none of them have ever seen any value in me. None of them have ever seen any value in me. And and I won't even say that. I'll say based off the way that I am treated and that I have been treated for years, man, no respect, no value. But, it's just life, man. It just is what it is. So I built up that resistance. So emotionally, my emotions don't work how most people's emotions and things like that work. Um, I'm not bad at anybody, no hatred or whatever, but you just have to stand on it. You know what I mean? You have to stand on how you treat me. Period, point blank. You know what I mean? And again, I don't have any anger or grudges against anybody. For whatever reason, they have them against me, and it is what it is. I could care less. That don't move me. It used to hurt my feelings because I'm a big family guy, but at the end of the day, family is not always blood, and that's what I've learned. Um, but like I said, man, at the end of the day, when it comes to my sister, I deal with it every day. I still deal with my Uncle Norman every day. I still deal with my granny every day. I've never, I've never been able to really deal with the trauma of it. I've never been able to. Been able to really just process it. You know what I mean? Because I always just jumped right into action when everything transpired with my sister. I was My goal was to just be there for everybody. But while I was being there for everybody, literally my cousin Vicky, phone conversations and text messages with her and things of that nature, that's what held me strong. So that's why she my ace to the day that dirt hit my box. Um, like I said, man, you know. But like I said, just growing up in the Cleve town, with my sister, and like I said, even on Enright on the west side, when we moved to Enright, um, man, like I said, that was my first best friend. You know what I mean? Um, Not a day goes by that I don't miss her. Um, Not a day goes by that it doesn't hurt. Um, yeah, man. You just take your day, a day at a time. Like I said, it's approaching a year, but to me, it'll always and forever not feel right. It'll always and forever not feel fair. And the person I was before her passing, um, I'm not that same person, and I'll never be that same person. Like I said, man, it's just something when, you know, you lose a sibling, it just hits. It just hits a whole lot different. And like I said, I love and I miss my father. I love and I miss my godmother. I love and I miss, you know, my Uncle Norman. I miss my granny. I miss these individuals. That's just normal. But again, like I said, man, with the loss of my sister, nah, I'll never be that same person. Like I said, emotionally, I'll never be that same person that I was. Um, like I said, just the way that I process things these days isn't the same. My level of caring is it has shifted. You know, a lot of things. And when I say my level of caring, there are a lot of things that just don't move me as much as they used to. I could care less, you know, and I understand that might come off negative, but it just is what it is, and those are the facts. Um, my tolerance has definitely completely shifted. Um, I am not as patient as I once was. Um, Again, not in a because they probably this sounds probably bad, but again, like I said, I really it just is what it is. Um, I don't I don't tolerate a lot. I don't tolerate nearly half of what I used to before her passing. I do not play about my time. I do not play about my peace. I do not play about my space. But that's my sister, you know what I mean? One of the things that she would always say to me is, why you let these people affect you the way you do? Don't trip off what they say. Who care about what they say about you? If you know that's not you, then don't worry about it. Don't trip off of them. So, like I said, she was a mentor. She was a big sister. She was one of my best friends. Like I said, she was definitely my very first best friend, in the world. You know what I mean? So, like I said, man, um, the lack of support that I received during that time or whatever, I'll never forget it. I forgive, but I'll never forget it. So, you know, like I said, just I've reached that level and that stage in life where, one of the best lessons that I've learned, and how one of the best lessons my family taught me is the way a person treats you is exactly how they feel about you. So the way that they treated me in that time, in this desperate time of need, desperate time of support, just somebody, anybody saying, nephew, how you doing? Yo, cousin, I hope you're good. You know what I mean? Love you, man. So, you know what I mean? That type of again, just what you would think would just be just that human support that, you know, I didn't receive any of that. So, um, again, the way people treat you is exactly how they feel about you. So, and nothing else to be said with that one. You know what I mean? Again, there's no hatred. I don't hate any of them or whatever. I will always love them due to the fact that we family or whatever, but it is what it is. I care less. I care less. You know what I mean? I appreciate how they were there for my little sister, and I appreciate how they were there for my mother. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is what it is.
Ain't no clouds in my coffee, and my soul ain't for sale. On the boulevard scheming, how we gonna get this bread? All we gotta do is keep it real. Keep it real, keep it real. Yeah. And I'm looking for you, that one I can feel. Let's get it on the floor tonight, 'cause that's my life. Yeah, I do what I wanna do. I'ma feel how I wanna feel. I'ma just keep it real, 'cause this is my life. I'ma be dancing in the sun, waiting on the moon to come, looking for that special one. This is my life. My life, my life, my life. Yeah. Yo, cut the check, now we building. From the floor to the ceiling. Please don't catch no feelings. We the real ones out here winning. We don't need no static. We out here trying to make magic. 'Cause this is our life. This is our life. This is our life. Hey! My life.